I find that one of the most fascinating things about the Olympic Games is everything that happens before the Olympic Games. We get a chance in this segment to look at what we call difference makers. And often there's a story that you never knew about that has shaped the individual. Here's Rick Hansen today with an amazing story.
The Difference Makers with Rick Hansen, presented by RBC.
Natural disasters and their human toll can bring the world to a stop. Canadian Olympian Kelita Zupancic knows this all too well, as she was training in Tokyo at the time of last year's earthquake and tsunami. Unable to speak the language and thousands of miles from home, Kelita got through the crisis with help from the Japanese athletes she was training with. Without knowing it, they became her difference makers, helping Kelita stay focused on training while the world was shifting around her.
A day of devastation. The largest earthquake in Japan's history unleashes a tidal wave of destruction.
On the day of the earthquake, I was at the National Training Center in Tokyo. I was with one of my teammates, and all of a sudden, everything started shaking, everything was coming off the shelves. Me and my friend, we ran outside. Everyone ran outside, and we're just holding each other, and everything, we're shaking like crazy. It's hard to describe pavement, like surfing on a pavement, that's how I would describe it, which is really hard to imagine. And she's phoning her family, making sure everyone's okay. It was really, really dramatic.
When Kelita and her teammates returned to the dojo, the enormity of the catastrophe began to sink in.
After 2 hours, we waited in the field, and eventually everyone came inside and we were listening to the news, and right away, almost like the biggest earthquake in history, and we could believe it, and we were so far from the actual where it happened, and we still felt the aftershocks were crazy.
Kelita returned to Canada, but 2 weeks later she went back to Tokyo, back to training, back to her friends.
Everyone is really scared. It was panic. Everyone was in a state of panic. There was no food left on the shelves. For a month, there was no food if you went into the grocery stores or convenience stores. Everything was gone. People panicked, and it was crazy.
Despite the language barrier, Kelita shared her teammates' fears.
Well, there's only 10 girls on the team, so we were all very close. And we would all, before training, talk about what's happening, and everyone would say, okay, I was really scared last night, and there's so many earthquakes, and everyone just kind of spoke about it, and we all kind of agreed and disagreed, and we all helped each other get over it. Living in Japan and being on the Komatsu team, I've learned so much as a person and how I can survive in a different country, make so many friends who don't even speak my language. And in terms of being an athlete, like I said, just pushing yourself to the limit and how far you can actually push yourself. I think as an athlete, you grow so much.
For Kelita, the courage her teammates displayed during that terrible time showed her that true strength is found not in the gym, but in the human spirit. A difference maker's message in any language.
When something so devastating happens in a country, I think it really brings the country together. It was really inspiring and very emotional. I would say it was unbelievable. First of all, because Japanese always love to say that word, unbelievable. They love saying that. And it truly was unbelievable, like the things that I went through physically and mentally, and also the tsunami, and it was just an unbelievable year.
The Difference Makers with Rick Hansen.